You walk down a flight of stairs, you barely notice you're doing it. Your phone is in your hand. Your mind is already at the next stop. But the real answer to what's happening around you right now is far stranger than you think. You are standing inside one of the strangest machines humans have ever built. Not a train, not a turnstile. The station itself. It breathes. It moves air through tunnels you'll never see. It listens for cracks in concrete that haven't happened yet. And it was designed almost entirely around a single problem nobody talks about. What do you do with thousands of people who are all afraid of the same thing, at the same time, underground? Let's go back to where this all started. London, the 1850s. The streets above are choking on horse traffic and coal smoke. A lawyer named Charles Pearson has an idea that sounds frankly insane. Dig a tunnel under the city, run a train through it, let people ride beneath the very ground they walk on. Investors think he's lost his mind. Why would anyone willingly climb into a hole in the earth? But Pearson understood something the skeptics didn't. People will go anywhere, even somewhere that frightens them if it saves them time. That single insight built the world's first underground railway, and it still explains why you swipe your card and walk into the dark every single morning without a second thought. Here's where it gets stranger. Digging that first tunnel almost killed the entire project before it began. The ground under London is soft clay and wet sand. Tunnels collapsed. Workers drowned. The breakthrough came from an engineer named Marc Isambard Brunel, who borrowed an idea from, of all things, a shipworm. He'd watched the tiny creature bore through wood by chewing at the front and reinforcing the tunnel wall behind it as it moved. Brunel built a giant iron frame that did the same thing to soft earth. Dig a little, shore it up, dig a little more. That invention, called a tunneling shield, is still the basic principle behind almost every subway tunnel dug today. Think about that for a second. The smooth, silent tunnel your train glides through this afternoon exists because one man stared at a worm eating wood and thought, I can do that to the earth. It took 18 years, and the lives of several workers before that first tunnel under the Thames was finished. 18 years for a single crossing, barely longer than a few city blocks. Compare that to how casually you cross beneath a river today in under a minute, scrolling through messages, never once wondering whether the ceiling above you will hold. It will. It has for over a century. That confidence wasn't given to you. It was earned slowly by people who weren't sure it would work either. Why does any of this matter to you, standing on a platform 2 centuries later? Because the station above that tunnel was never really designed for trains. It was designed for fear. Engineers in the 1800s ran into a problem nobody had solved before. How do you convince a person to walk into a dark hole and trust that they'll come back out? The answer wasn't bigger trains. It was light, ventilation, straight sight lines. Stations were built with high ceilings and wide platforms specifically so your eyes could see an exit at all times. Even now, walk into almost any underground station and count how many directions you can see clearly. It's rarely fewer than 2. That's not an accident. That's 170 years of psychology baked into concrete. This is where a modern researcher picks up the thread. Colin Ellard, an environmental psychologist who studies how spaces affect the brain, has spent years measuring something simple: heart rate, skin response, mood. What he found is that low ceilings, blocked sight lines, and dead-end corners trigger a measurable stress response in almost everyone, even people who insist they're not claustrophobic. Underground spaces score worse on this than almost any other environment humans build, which means every wide platform, every mirror placed at a blind corner, every strip of fluorescent light running along a tunnel wall exists to fight a reaction your brain has whether you want it to or not. You've felt this without naming it. That faint unease right before a train arrives, the way a station feels different when it's empty versus full. Your body is reacting to engineering choices made by people who never met you, designed around fear they assumed you'd have. They were right. Ellard's research goes further than just sight lines. In his studies of urban spaces, he found that the texture and rhythm of a wall matters almost as much as its height. A long, blank, featureless tunnel wall produces more anxiety in test subjects than a wall broken up by tile patterns, advertisements, or even simple changes in color every few meters. This is why so many older underground systems are famous for their elaborate tiled walls and mosaic signage. It wasn't decoration for its own sake.
वीडियोस बनाने हैं, फिल्मोरा है ना।